to you on your computer, phone, or tablet. Introducing the All In for Citrus podcast from UF IFAS in partnership with Southeast AgNet. The monthly series spans the Sunshine State with research project updates from the UF IFAS statewide citrus team. Listen to the latest episode by searching All In for Citrus on iTunes, your favorite podcasting application, or at citrusindustry.net.
For more on today's news, we invite you to log on to southeastagnet.com. I'm Tyron Spearman for Southeast AgNet.
12 rounds boxing. Now on the Ocala Square. Open 10 A to 10 P. 7 days a week. That's 12 rounds boxing.
Folks, are you tired of the broken promises from the Washington politicians? They promised to build the wall. They haven't. They promised to repeal Obamacare. They didn't. It's time we hold the Washington politicians accountable. Time we elect a businessman, not a politician. It's time we send Judson Sapp to Congress. Judson Sapp is a conservative businessman just like President Trump. Judson Sapp is a pro-life conservative, a life member of the NRA with an A rating. Judson Sapp will protect our Second Amendment rights and the rights of the unborn. Floridians can trust Judson Sapp to keep his word. Judson Sapp will stand with President Trump. Build the wall, repeal Obamacare, support our veterans, and make America great again. New conservative leadership. Businessman Judson Sapp.
I'm Judson Sapp, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Judson Sapp for Congress.
WOCA. Ocala.
Partly sunny today with a shower, thunderstorm, and spots this afternoon, high 90 to 93. Showers and thunderstorms this afternoon will continue through this evening, low 73 to 75. Then Tuesday and Wednesday both look for a mix of clouds and sunshine. Shower, thunderstorm, and spots in the afternoon, high Tuesday 91 to 93, high Wednesday 90 to 93. Then partly sunny on Thursday, high 92 to 96. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Holly Holdren.
WOCA. Ocala.
And good morning. You're listening to AM Ocala Live, WOCA, The Source, 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, broadcasting to you live from the Paddock Mall, streaming live, YouTube Live, WOCA, The Source Radio. 5 minutes past the top of the 9 o'clock hour as we're rolling through this Monday, June 22nd, as we continue on with a good show for you. And now, up next, we have former Massey Energy CEO, Mr. Don Blankenship, as he has announced his running for president here as we got him on the air. Good morning, sir. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing fine, thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, welcome to the show. As big news there for yourself as you announced running for president in the United States in this election. If you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the idea of your campaign and what's your agenda.
All right. Well, I'm a candidate or the nominee of the Constitution Party, and basically the party strongly believes that we should return to the rule of law under the Constitution and get back to the roots of what made us great, which was a country that recognized individual freedoms but also recognized the need for responsibility. The Constitution Party is on most ballots in the states in the United States, and again, we believe that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have lost their way, and as George Washington warned us, has become more focused on what's good for their parties and not what's good for the country. We believe the coronavirus has been mishandled, as well as a lot of the protests and riots going on in the country demonstrate that we're getting more divided rather than more unified, and we have to do better. The Chinese have done a great job in the sense of improving their economy and their stature in the world than we have over the last many years, and our trade policy and our behavior has allowed other countries to gain on the United States in terms of everything from military technology to economy to taking care of its people. So we're very concerned about the country and very interested in being helpful to the country. And personally, I'm a guy that's seen every economic level of life. I grew up poor in Appalachia. and I rose to being the chairman of a large energy company that was, that was prominent in employment in Appalachia. And I've also been on the board of large chemical companies and on the board of the largest construction company in the world. So I've been around from the bottom of the economic ladder to the top. I understand what it takes to make a business run, and also understand what government regulations and, if you will, a focus on less meaningful things like climate change and so forth, and less and lack of focus on things like making sure we're a unified country and that people have a job. So we understand the issues, and I've had a lot of experiences that helped me do better with those issues than we have been doing in recent years.
Gotcha.
So I'll stop there if you have any questions.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in the idea of everything you mentioned in the beginning there, just with everything that's going on within our country at the moment, everything we've been through so far, 2020, when we bring up the idea of the controversy and the intolerance and systemic racism and all these big terms that are thrown out there for just not getting along, where do you see, or how do you see unity? What is the way you would see to basically problem solve the idea of actually bringing the country together? What do you find is a way to actually get ourselves back to a unified country?
Well, the biggest thing we got to do is we got to be, both sides or multiple sides need to be able to talk. It's very difficult for the majority to speak out because they're immediately labeled to be a racist. The communities that are suffering, are suffering because they're not being prepared to be involved in the economy. It's like a chain of generations that continue to be impoverished. I think another thing we need to realize is that 70% of the people who live below the poverty line in the United States are not black. Most of the people that live below the poverty line are white, and police brutality is not isolated to just the black community. Police brutality is human nature. When you empower someone, put a uniform on them, and don't monitor their behavior, eventually bad things happen. So there's a lot of things that we need to be doing, but we need to have open dialogue, and we need to use facts rather than emotions and monuments from 150 years ago and so forth as indicative of what we need to do. On the coronavirus, and I guess it was the 1920s or whatever, the tuberculosis epidemic, we isolated 625,000 people that were positive for tuberculosis, and eventually we overcame that. And if we were smart enough to do that nearly 100 years ago, we should have been this time. They've now acknowledged that asymptomatic individuals don't transfer the virus very often, if at all, and we should have isolated people that we knew that were testing positive early on in New York and New Jersey so that we could have stopped the spread. It was sort of insanity to stop the travel of tourists from Europe and throughout the rest of the world, and yet allow one of the most infected places in the world's peoples to travel throughout the country unhindered. So we allowed the virus to spread from its beginning in the Northeast, and we did a terrible job because we tried to isolate or quarantine 320 million people instead of 200,000.
Gotcha. Moving on from that a little bit, partner, I just want to ask, as here at our local radio station, as we're News Talk and we carry out, I wanted to ask you, in part of the idea of running for president, I just wanted to ask you, in your opinion, just the idea of how you go about a campaign and the ideas of, like you said, with the Constitution Party, amidst the idea of how, when we talk about polarization in this country, it's usually divided between Democrats and Republicans. So how does it feel, or what's your opinion on when it actually takes to run a campaign under another party when everything's so heavily, so heavily handled on opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to the Democrats and Republicans? How does somebody like you fit in with running under the Constitution Party?
But it's very difficult. We don't have any misconception that we're going to go out and beat the Democrats and Republicans in this election. What we believe is that parties come and go over long periods of time, and the time for the Democratic and Republican Party to go and for there to be a new party with a new foundation and a new thought process is now. But we need to begin to build the Constitution Party, and for people to understand that this constant squabbling and arguing is not solutions. There are easy solutions. Well, easy might be a bad word, but there are clear solutions to the illegal immigration issue. There's clear solutions to even the abortion issue. There's clear solutions to the trade policy issues. All the things that have divided the country and cost the country its jobs can be resolved. And we need to begin to get people to think that way, and to build a party that provides solutions rather than arguments. And that's what this is all about. We know it's a more than 1 year journey, but it's a journey that if the country doesn't take, we're going to continue to have the problems that we've now had for 60 years. I mean, if you're an old timer and you go back and watch Dragnet or Fugitive or any of those old shows, you'll see that race relations, police brutality were the focus of those shows 60, 70 years ago, and it hasn't changed, and it's because the political parties don't want it to change.
Absolutely. Well, just about to wrap it up here, partner. Thank you very much for taking the time with us as the former Massey Engineer CEO, Mr. Don Blankenship, talking about his candidacy for president under the Constitution Party. We appreciate it very much, sir, and you guys have a great week.
Thank you. You do the same.
You got it. And WOCA Ocala back after this.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
12 rounds boxing.